In December 1968, the Beach Boys released a sunny, upbeat B-side called Never Learn Not to Love. But this cheerful pop song had an original title, Cease to Exist, and its sole writer was Charles Manson. How did clean-cut pop stars end up collaborating with a violent cult leader? And how did this specific studio session pave the way for a massacre? The violence of the Manson murders was rooted in the specific frustrations of a failed musician. Manson is a man whose proximity to the Hollywood elite only amplified the sting of their eventual rejection. In the spring of 1968, Beach Boys drummer Dennis Wilson picked up two hitchhiking young women. Soon after, their leader, Charles Manson, and his growing family embedded themselves in Wilson's Pacific Palisades mansion. They treated the rock star as an open wallet. Over a few months, the cult drained roughly $100,000 from Wilson, racking up massive medical bills and totaling his uninsured car. Manson had a clear agenda. He viewed Wilson as a stepping stone, using the musician to actively lobby for a mainstream record contract. Manson pitched a blues-inspired track called Cease to Exist to Dennis. To close the deal, Manson voluntarily traded away his publishing rights for a payout of cash and a vintage BSA motorcycle. Selling his art for a bike completely strips away his carefully crafted facade as a transcendent spiritual guru. It exposes him as an opportunistic music industry grifter looking for a quick payout. When collaborating, Manson had one strict, non-negotiable rule: absolutely no one was allowed to change his lyrics. During the September 1968 studio sessions, Dennis Wilson completely ignored that rule. He dismantled Manson's simple acoustic blues arrangement, layering the track with complex vocal harmonies, piano, and sleigh bells. Wilson altered the opening line from Cease to Exist to Cease to Resist, renamed the song Never Learn Not to Love, and claimed sole writing credit. Furious at this total loss of control, Manson threatened to murder Wilson. In response, the Beach Boy permanently severed their ties. The bridge was burned. Because his behavior had grown increasingly erratic, prominent record producer Terry Melcher also walked away, refusing to sign Manson. Losing the Beach Boys and Terry Melcher closed the door to the mainstream industry Manson spent years trying to infiltrate. With his external networking failing, his focus narrowed to the followers trapped with him in the desert. Exiled from Hollywood glamour, Manson and his followers retreated to the isolated, decaying buildings of Spahn Ranch. At his trial, prosecutors argued the August 1969 murders were designed to spark an apocalyptic race war called Helter Skelter, but the evidence points away from a random ideological crusade. The primary murder target was the residence at 1005 Cielo Drive. This was the former rented home of Terry Melcher, the exact record producer who had refused to sign him. Even if Manson knew Melcher no longer lived there, the house remained a potent symbol of the Hollywood establishment. The murders acted as a targeted, retaliatory strike against the very industry that locked him out. This line graph tracks the 1968 Billboard Hot 100. Just months after the recording session, Never Learn Not to Love climbed the ranks and charted at number 61. The record gave Charles Manson the exact mainstream placement he always craved, yet it happened entirely without his name, his credit, or his creative control. The 1960s counterculture was punctured by the violent tantrum of a frustrated amateur. Manson spent his life chasing a record deal, but his final legacy was defined by the one thing he couldn't handle: being relegated to a B-side.